Hi, everybody, and welcome. I hope wherever you are in the world that the sun is shining and that you're smiling as you turn this video on today. I am in sunny Adelaide and it is lovely. Adelaide is a state sort of on the south middle of Australia. I know that we have participants all over the world. So if you have a chance, drop us a line at info@family and child consultants and let us know where you're from. It's really interesting to hear and to receive messages from all over the place. We've received messages recently from Dubai, from lots from the US, and a number from the east coast of Australia and New Zealand. And we do really love to get those messages and get that feedback from you as to what works for you with this course. We constantly making changes and updates to the course, so your feedback is really appreciated. I'm glad that you're watching the video today before you do the reading, because this week's lesson is all about the effects of a narcissist parent on children. Now, the reading can seem a bit gloomy, but it's actually not that gloomy. There is lots of things that you can proactively be doing to protect your children from the narcissistic parent. So, look, we've talked about co parenting, and we know that co parenting is hard. It's hard work. That business of parenting is hard work and it takes commitment. Co parenting and the business of parenting with a narcissist is even more difficult and overwhelming. However, whether you're still with the co parent who's a narcissist, whether you're divorced, or whether you're separated, you can protect yourself and your children by being proactive and equipping yourself with ways to safeguard your family. And we're going to talk about some of those ways today. So, one of the things that we need to do as parents is commit to your child's safety. So, some individuals with narcissistic personality disorder or narcissistic personality traits can be abusive mentally, emotionally, and verbally to other people that they live with. This is because of their need for power. They probably misinterpret your assertiveness as an attack against them. And when children are the targets of the abuse, it is often because they misinterpret some normal child behaviors as being disrespectful. If you observe the other parent yelling or degrading your child, immediately work to defend them and remove the child from the situation. Otherwise, this can also put a strain on your relationship with the child, because this lack of protection can be more traumatic than the trauma itself. Let me say that again. Sometimes your lack of protection of the child can be more traumatic than the trauma itself. Speak up. Tell your partner that what they're doing is unacceptable and take your child into another room. Apologize to your child for what they had to deal with and tell them that you will do your best to protect them. Be sure that you document all instances of abuse as much as possible, such as the type and the date and the time it occurred, and the circumstances, and how you actually responded. One of the other things that sometimes needs to happen when the abuse is that much is that co parenting isn't an option, and instead it's necessary to utilize parallel parenting. If you and the narcissistic parent are no longer together, things will be much easier in these circumstances if you parallel parent. Someone with NPD, narcissistic personality disorder especially, is not able to engage in teamwork due to their need to be powerful and most important. Remember, we've spoken about it being on a continuum. And people with NPD, people who have been clinically diagnosed with NPD, find it incredibly difficult, and a lot of the times are actually unable to engage in teamwork. While co-parents might attend to their child's events and parent-teacher conferences and those sorts of things together, parallel parents actually do things separately. This is important to do so you can actually minimize the contact with your ex and protect yourself from unnecessary conflict. It's also really important to actually minimize face-to-face contact, regardless of whether you're parallel parenting with somebody who's been diagnosed as narcissistic personality disorder or somebody with narcissistic traits. You want to avoid face-to-face contact with your ex as much as possible and use phone contact only when absolutely necessary. Use emails and other forms of communication and keep them strictly on topic. Remember that business of parenting is what you need to talk about. If phone contact is necessary, keep the conversation focused on the child. If your ex continues to change the subject or be abusive, end the phone call as quickly and as respectfully as possible. This can also apply if your narcissistic parent and yourself are actually still living in the same premises. If they attempt to call, avoid answering the phone. If they can insist on having the conversation, walk away. This is really important. The other thing that you want to do is make sure that you get confirmation of everything from the narcissistic parent in writing. One of the benefits of limiting communication to email is that you want to get as much in writing from the narcissistic parent as possible. You can't take the narcissist at their word since they often actually break their promises. They may promise to pay child support, they may promise to pick up the child, they may promise to do all of these things and not actually follow through. So, email communication can serve as evidence when you're having those conversations with them between the two of you to evidence what they actually say and what they actually do. You also need to make sure that you're preparing yourself for each interaction with the co parent. Those with NPD or narcissistic personality traits do not forgive and forget. They hold grudges for a very long time. They thrive on revenge because their ego is in the main their motivation. Therefore, you want to prepare yourself for interactions with them by planning what it is that you're going to say. You want to keep your statements short and to the point. You want to stay calm because a narcissist will thrive on bringing out emotion and reactions from others. You want to not expect an apology. You're not going to get it. It's not going to happen because for someone to apologize genuinely, they have to have empathy, which is what narcissists lack. You need to know that you're not at fault and stick to the issue at hand. Don't dignify their negativity with a response. Remember, keep focused on that business of parenting. Another thing that's really important is bringing little or no attention to your mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes, and it might be natural for you to admit yours and apologize for them. However, by doing this, you may actually be inadvertently giving the other parent ammunition against you. They could blow a small mistake out of proportion and try to use it against you. Therefore, you want to avoid saying, I'm sorry, or avoid saying it's my fault. Quickly address your mistake and move on, and don't even address it at all. The other thing that's really important is you want to keep your kids, out of fights. It's not uncommon for a narcissistic parent to use their child as a pawn in a battle against you. If you two are fighting and your ex brings the child into it, say something like, "This is not their fault. Keep her out of this." Your child needs to hear you stick up for them as much as possible. In general, your child, if they're in the same room as you, if they hear the two of you fighting, stop and take the child into a different room and direct them to an activity before continuing the conversation. While your child could still hear the argument through the door, again, you're showing them that you're trying to protect them as much as you can. It's really also very important to avoid berating the narcissistic parent to the child. It can be incredibly easy to do to speak badly about the narcissistic parent, especially if the child has actually already witnessed some of those negative and abusive behaviors from that parent. At the same time, bad mouthing them to your child lowers your credibility. Children figure it out. They work out on their own who is trustworthy and who is not. Remember, the narcissist is still your child's parent. berating them to your child is not modeling the behavior that you want to model, and it's immature and inappropriate. Most importantly, what you want to do is actually foster a healthy relationship with your child. Remember, we can control our own actions and our own reactions. We can't control that of others. People with narcissistic traits generally don't have a strong emotional connection to their child. Due to this and the fact that they don't put their child's needs before them, kids can often feel emotionally neglected and hurt by this parent. As a result, you need to compensate for the narcissistic parent. It's not fair, but you do, and you do so for the good of your child. Make sure that you frequently show them that you love them. Hug them often, lots of physical contact. It's important for their development. Utilize authority parenting in order to teach them that healthy behavior and relationships are important. Whether you are with the narcissistic parent or not, or like I said, separated from them, they probably are not going to pay a huge amount of interest to the child's interest. To the child's interest. They're more wrapped up in what is important to them rather than what's important to the children. They might even criticize your child for actually doing something good, something like reading. Someone with narcissistic personality disorder or narcissistic traits is frequently criticizing others for almost anything as an attempt to maintain power and high regard for themselves. Therefore, you have to take the initiative to support your child's interests. Encourage your child's interest by allowing them time for those activities and enrolling them in classes and programs. This is important for their development well into adulthood. Also, specify the activities and the logistics as much as you can in the parenting plan. The other thing that's really important is that you plan for emergencies. Somebody with NPD or narcissistic personality traits often abuses those in the household as well. If you or your partner or you are actually still together and have a history of verbally or physically being violent, you need to establish a plan for you and your child to be safe. Talk with family and friends or people that you trust about how you can alert someone if something goes wrong. Make sure you have a plan that gets you out of those sticky situations and those situations which really put you and your child at risk. Look, don't give up. There is lots, as you can see, that you can be doing to support your child, even if they have a narcissistic parent. And remember, we can control what we do. We can't control what others. And you can make a big difference in the life of your child. Bye.